Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we need to do a couple of expendable Falcon 9 flights and work a bit on our landing system. I'm reasonably comfortable with everything else, but that first stage recovery clearly needs some additional work. And the major problem right now, of course, is like terminal guidance attitude control. That's the overall issue at this moment. So I want to take a look at our Falcon 9, just our stock standard Falcon 9. And it's something like this, right? And right now, its attitude control is basically coming down to being steered by our air brakes and the tiny little reaction wheel that's in here. That's not a lot. No doubt about that. In reality, I believe that this does have some RCS on it, but I doubt that would do all that much either. So what I want to do here is, like I said, I want to do some expendable flights here. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove all of our crew from here. We're not going to get paid for these flights, but, I mean, this thing is cheap. We can do a lot of flights with this without getting paid, without any concerns. So I want to do a couple of test flights here and a couple of test recoveries and work on some techniques there. Our primary issue is horizontal speed. Now, we could burn off some horizontal speed with a re-entry burn, and I think that's not necessarily a bad idea. So let's launch this equatorially without MechJeb. I'm going to do a manual launch here, and of course it will be entirely remotely operated. This is a remote guidance unit, right? Yeah, okay. So we're just going to bring this guy right on up, and we're going to launch this. And off we go. Excellent. So we're just going to bring this up, and we're going to launch this into, well, we know that MechJeb does a much more aggressive gravity turn than we do. So I'm just going to start it a little earlier. I want this to be on Kilrot. Thank you very much. That would be helpful. And we're going to definitely be more aggressive with it. No doubt about that. So I'm just bringing this on over. I'm going to park us at about 45 degrees here as soon as I can. That said, we're probably going to have a lot of air resistance doing this at this altitude. Okay. So we're just going to park it about here for the moment. And we need to leave some recovery fuel, right? So we're going to have to burn here for about another 30-ish seconds, and we'll see where that ends up putting our apoapsis height. I expect this to be a little on the low side in terms of apoapsis. We're getting a little too much horizontal speed and a little too little vertical speed, and that is by design. This is specifically what I want. We are pushing up through the atmosphere nicely. This apoapsis is about 45 right now. We've got about 5 more seconds until, well, I'm going to take it a little further. Down to about 10 seconds. Okay, engine cutoff, stage separation, and we're going to go to horizontal velocity up here. Okay, now this is going to be coasting up for quite a long time. It's going to start tumbling, which is not necessarily ideal. But we're just going to push on through here, and we're going to bring this guy on up to... this is actually probably... it's not quite good enough. We can see that time to apoapsis is going down right now, but we are very low in the atmosphere for this engine. We're going to get a lot more efficiency as we continue to go up. But for the moment, this seems relatively fine. Now, if we look at this, that's fairly similar to a MechJeb trajectory, I feel like. It's not exact, of course. We could just use MechJeb for it, but I want to get a good feel for how this is working. That's the idea. So we're just going to continue to burn here until this hits an apoapsis of, like... honestly, it's kind of fine where it is. We hit space now, and let's just get this thing circularized. So let's just get this thing into orbit here. We don't care about inclination, just into an orbit. Sure, this'll do. That's reasonably fine there. So let's head over to the node. That burn time will be in 1 minute 30 seconds. We should extend our solar panels, of course. And let's warp on forward. It'll be about a 1 minute burn. Okay, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay, checking in on the current status of our probe. It is descending, and it is going to hit the atmosphere very soon here. Noted. We've got about 50 seconds on this burn, but all I want to do is put this in an orbit. It doesn't matter if we make it into this exact orbit. We just want an orbit. So 40 seconds, 39, 38, 37, that's all reasonably fine. We do need to build up a fair amount more horizontal speed here, which is, of course, exactly what we're looking to do. So we're reaching the apoapsis now. I believe that we're probably entering atmosphere. Yeah, we have entered atmosphere with that. So that's a bit of a concern, right? That timing. Definitely. No doubt about that. Okay. We'll be in an orbit very shortly here. Okay, there we go. A little further. Cool. Now we switch to the Falcon 9 probe. We're probably going to have to do a re-entry burn here, and that's reasonably fine. I want to get this flipped around as quick as we can. We are definitely a little late in getting over here. So we want to be in surface velocity minus. We're going to need to deploy these guys. Okay. And I'm going to do a bit of a re-entry burn here as soon as we get in position. Okay. Let's take this down and do about a 3-second burn or so. About like that. So that slows us down pretty dramatically. No doubt about that. We have a lot of horizontal speed still, but a lot of this is going to go away due to air resistance. The question is how much, right? And we know that we're going to break down to about 200 to 300 meters per second. So right now what we're trying to do is determine how this feels so that we can make engineering changes. That's the overall goal behind this flight. So we're slowing down nicely. We're about 7 kilometers up right now. 6 kilometers up. Continuing to slow. High G-forces at the moment, and we're parked right on that surface velocity minus node. So that's good. We're just going to have to be pretty careful with it, right? So 2 kilometers up. And 1 kilometer up. I'm going to start a very, very gentle deceleration burn here. Okay, that's about what we need overall. Now, that's fine for a water landing. I think that also likely would have been fine for a land landing, assuming that the landing is reasonably flat. But basically, what that boils down to is that I don't believe that this is an engineering problem. And that's all well and good. So we're going to recover that. I don't believe that that is an engineering problem. I believe that was an operator issue. What we really, really need to avoid going forward is overshooting that landing burn. That's going to be the problem. I'm 100% certain at this point that it was operator error. So yeah, that seems fine. As far as a land landing goes, it's probably going to be tougher. But it's just going to be an execution thing. That's what it boils down to. So the reason that we couldn't flip back over previously in time was because we overshot anyway. We shouldn't overshoot. That's what it comes down to. So let's just hop over and bring this Falcon 9 down quick, and then we'll continue to do service missions to the ISS, and that should be absolutely fine. I don't think we have any problem here whatsoever. So all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to deorbit this with the second stage, and we're just going to bring it down as quick as we can. That proved to me that we are absolutely fine here. So, yeah, we just need to be concerned about user error. So let's bring this guy down. No problem whatsoever. Okay, and I'm going to decelerate us down to a periapsis height of about 10 kilometers. We know this will be absolutely fine. And we can now ditch our second stage. We can even ditch our trunk section here. That's, I should have thought of that. It's probably fine. But this is going to be a very steep landing. You know, if this gets destroyed, it doesn't actually matter. We don't have any crew or anything in here, so it should be fine. Let's take this over to surface velocity minus, and we'll just warp in, and we'll see how it goes with this extremely steep deceleration. We'll see how steep we can bring this in. This is a decent, like, edge case. This seems fine. I suspect it'll be okay. This thing has a lot of drag to it, so we'll see. It'll be good to know what the boundaries of bringing this back look like, though. So if we do end up destroying it, testing to destruction is valid, so we'll be okay with that. We are slowing down, and we're losing a lot of altitude. We feel like we're coming in very, very fast, but honestly, it's okay. We're decelerating quickly. Yeah, I think we're fine here. Good to know. Shoots out, and mains out. I should say drogues out and mains out. Yeah, it's completely okay. I like it. So that's phenomenal. We're very happy about that, of course. Cool. This is going to go boom. That followed almost exactly the same trajectory we did, which is mildly remarkable, and a bit survived even. Okay. What bit survived, I wonder? We'll take a look once we get down to the ground. We'll be a lot closer at that point. Yeah, we're about 500 meters away right now and still a kilometer up. Well, actually, we are 300 meters up. So I'm wondering what survived here. We can see it right there. Oh, okay, the service bay and the solar panels. Interesting. I mean, we're not going to be able to recover them because there's nothing controllable connected to them. We'll just have to, I mean, we will recover them, but we're not going to get any money from recovering them. That's all fine. So yeah, this just comes down to the Falcon 9 landing procedure needs to be refined, and I need to just get better at it. I need to not suck. That's what this comes down to. It's fine. It being an execution problem is something I can absolutely deal with. That is very much a good thing. An engineering problem would be far worse. But the fact is, maybe we should run a test using MechJeb. I do think that deceleration burn higher up was probably helpful. Yeah, we may want to we may want to do a MechJeb test here and just make sure, because that was not a MechJeb test, that was a manually launched test, and I've been able to recover all of the manually launched vehicles that we've done. And I've not managed to recover any MechJeb vehicles. So I think we should run one more test of it, just to be sure, and this time launch using MechJeb and see how it goes. So launch using MechJeb into the correct inclination is what we're going to do. So let's hop in here. And we're going to open up our Falcon 9 here. So we open up the Falcon 9. We're not going to have any sort of payload in it. We're not going to have any crew, just in case. This is still a test flight of this particular mechanism. I just want to see how it goes if I don't overshoot a MechJeb launch. Let's see how this goes. This is going to be interesting, for sure. It'll be a little different, and a little different is not a bad thing. So we're not going to necessarily care which direction we launch in. I just want to launch into plane of target, and I mean, we are going to have to wait on that. So we're going to, like, simulate that it's a ISS flight, right? And make this be as real as we can without actually, like, risking a payload or anything. So we'll set this as our target, and that is absolutely fine. We'll launch into plane of target, go ahead and skip circular. Actually, don't skip circularization. And we're going to engage autopilot. Okay. So we're going to have to manually stage this, swap over, and kill the engines, and then swap back, is how this works. So that means that we should start doing that at probably like 12 seconds of burn time left, is my current theory. Okay, MechJeb, let's see what you've got. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. MechJeb? Are you okay, buddy? I see you're throttled up. What are you doing, MechJeb? I'm going to disengage the autopilot. We don't have any electric charge. Ah, okay. Sure, we can work with that. So let's revert that back. We didn't actually go anywhere. So I think we warped too long and our electric charge ran out. Now, normally we'd be reliant on these skiffs to get us more electric charge. But one thing we can do is we can do a ground station. So a launch stability enhancer here. And this will generate 1.0 electric charge per second. So we can do just a single one of these, and this would be like, you know, a crew access arm type idea. And it would just be something kind of like that. We would want to drop the overall height of this down so that we are actually, like, resting on the ground. That would be ideal. How's that? Yeah, that pretty much like that. Okay, so something like this. So we've got our crew access arm. That will supply us an electric charge. And hopefully now it'll be okay. I'm surprised we didn't run into that issue with any of our other launches, now that I think about it. Running out of electric charge is exciting, no doubt about that. You know what? I bet we did run out of electric charge, but it didn't matter because we had crew. I bet that's what it was. So the crew were able to manually trigger it. Yeah, that was probably it. But just having this one electric charge flow should do the trick. We can see we're not draining our electric charge. Okay. Let's try this again. So I guess that is an engineering issue, but we can launch into plane of target and engage autopilot. That looks good. Are we at an angle here? I don't know. Maybe we are. If so, that's mildly awkward. We could just move our crew access arm to be like down here. Or even down here. Yeah, that's definitely wiggling around quite a lot. Okay. I'm reverting that back. I don't like the positioning of that. Our launch stability enhancer gives us a good electric flow, but what it's not doing is what I want it to, which is making the launch more stable. We could just attach it right about here instead. And that'll probably be a lot more stable, now that it's not connecting at an angle. Okay, let's try this one more time. This is definitely becoming quite a thing, no doubt about that. But I just want to verify that it was user error with the MechJeb launch, and I'm like 99.9% sure about that, but I want to prove that we can recover a MechJeb launch. Like, obviously we can. It's just a matter of getting it right? But I want to prove that we can get it right. So let's set the ISS as our target and launch into plane of target and engage that autopilot. We're now much more straight up and down. That's a good sign, in theory. And checking in on our electric charge. Yep, we're solid on the electric charge. No problem there. Okay, so we're going to be launching here in about 12 seconds. We do go a little bit sideways. Yeah, we definitely skittered around a little bit after the physics warp, or I guess the time warp, but that's probably correctable. Yeah, I don't think there's any major issues there. So we're going to be staging this at about 12 seconds. And then we're going to be swapping over, killing this and then resuming our trip to orbit with this is the idea. Okay. So this is all relatively good, right? We're just going to need to get through this initial burn phase. We've got about 50 seconds on that. And I'm interested in seeing exactly what trajectory this ends up putting us in. We went pretty aggressive on the gravity turn last time, and it worked out pretty well, all things considered. But we have a target orbital altitude of 300 kilometers, right? So that's all reasonably fine. We've got about 35 seconds of burn time left in these tanks. And of course, we're going to need to stage, swap, kill engines. In that order. 25 seconds left. Getting very close here. Okay. Right about now. Okay. There we go. We see our apoapsis height is actually quite high, so that looks good. And we're just getting ourselves horizontal speed at this point. That was a pretty clean separation, all things considered. And we're just letting MechJeb continue to MechJeb its way through this and get ourselves into an orbit. So at this point, have we unloaded this guy yet? Yes, we have. Okay, so I'm going to physics warp us. And we're just going to make our way out to our target apoapsis height. And that all seems good. We can disengage the autopilot once we reach the apoapsis height, so we can skip circularization. I think that's absolutely fine. So we can see that time to apoapsis here is going to be quite long. So no issues whatsoever there. Coming out of the physics warp. Yeah, we should have plenty of time for that. Fine-tuning that apoapsis, and now I do want to circularize this, but that's going to be in about 10 minutes. So we almost certainly are not going to need to do this until after we have determined how our landing goes. So that's fine. We can hop over to our Falcon 9 probe, which just hit its apoapsis and is starting to drop. That's good timing as far as that goes. So how much fuel do we have left? The answer is 11 seconds. Okay, that's about where I expected this to be. I want to be in surface velocity minus here. And we're going to deploy and enable pitch and yaw for all of these. And we're just going to make our way over towards surface velocity minus. So we need to turn this thing all the way around. But we've got lots of time to do that. We are falling, yes, but it's a ways to the atmosphere at this point. So this looks reasonably good. Our horizontal speed is increasing, but I think it's a little lower than it was last time. So mathematically, this pretty much proves that we're not that concerned about it. We're going to hit atmosphere about now, but we also just managed to make our way over to the retrograde node. Cool. And I think right about now is a good time to do a re-entry burn. So we're going to take that down to about 7 seconds of burn time left. Looks good. And the real question is, can we recover this? I suspect that answer to be yes, but we're going to need to do a lot of aero braking, of course. And we're just holding this attitude. We can see our horizontal speed is dropping. In fact, our overall speed is dropping, which we fully expect. And it's just about cautious deceleration at this point. That is what it's all about. So 4 kilometers. 3 kilometers. 2 kilometers. Starting our deceleration burn. Keeping an eye on it. Okay. So that's a successful recovery there, but it wouldn't have been on land. That was a little fast, and we saw that it started pushing off to the side. That wouldn't have been a land recovery successfully, I don't think. I believe that we would have impacted the ground hard, but a water recovery that was acceptable for. So we can recover that, and then we're just going to bring back the second test flight real quickly here, which will be absolutely fine, no problem. We know that we can bring this back at a pretty steep trajectory, all things considered. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hop back here. We'll see how much we got from that recovery. I expect it to be like 33 to 35K, like half the flight of or half the cost of the rocket, which is pretty extreme, actually. But let's grab that as soon as we can here. Come on, you can do it, KSP. There you go. Yeah, 33K, so that's about half the cost of the rocket. So now we're going to hop into the tracking station. That's absolutely wonderful. And we're going to grab the Falcon 9, which is currently on a suborbital trajectory. Do we even want to circularize it? The answer is no. We're just going to let it sit on this suborbital trajectory, and this is fine. I want to see what its current periapsis is. Anytime we can load in KSP, that would be absolutely magnificent. It is negative 60K. Okay, I'm going to jettison this. And we're going to hold this attitude for a bit. I want to go to surface velocity minus. And we don't care about this. We are not circularizing this. We're just completely happy with a suborbital flight. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to jettison our trunk section. We don't need that. And we're going to coast on down to the atmosphere. There we go. And we are in Atmo now. Now, we have a lot more speed than we had previously, and this is a good stress test on how this landing is going to go. Now, if we need to, we can burn these Separatrons and slow ourselves down. We'll see how that ends up going, but we're coming in from a pretty high height into negative 60. So let's see how that ends up going in terms of our deceleration here. Yeah, we have bits blowing up over here, which is not shocking. We are decelerating at a pretty high rate. A lot of G-forces, no doubt about it. Luckily, Kerbals don't care about G-forces. No, this is absolutely fine. We don't actually need to fire our Separatrons. Beautiful. So that's nice and fast. We'll get our chutes out, and this will be a splashdown, so no concerns there. Beautiful. No, that's absolutely wonderful. We can be very aggressive with our returns. That's good to know. We can be very, very aggressive, actually. We had a lot of headroom here. Yeah, I don't think there's a single return that we can potentially take from the ISS that will result in a problem with that. So with that knowledge, I mean, maybe if we drop just straight down through the atmosphere, but the Delta V to do that would be absurd. Absolutely nutty. Obviously, I'm not going to fire our Separatrons here. It would be very useless, but we'll just hop on down, recover that vessel. That'll be another, like, 3,000. So that'll be roughly another 5% on our recovery. So call it about a 55% recovery rate on the amount of money that costs. That's not bad. So what that ends up meaning is that our overall vehicle cost is about 30K, assuming a successful recovery. Now, we're not going to get payment for any of these quick test flights that we did. I just wanted to proof that we can do the recovery, and we have proven it for water. As far as land goes, I don't feel like we have to prove it for land, but we've proven that we can do it from a mech jeb launch. It just requires a little bit of discipline and practice. I'll get better at it. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Kintogan, Ali Lee, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.